Good day everyone. So for this video, we will now discuss how to render our outputs out of Blender into a separate image file. So we will work with the file that we worked on when we discussed about textures. So we still haven't fixed the UV issue here sa wall, but it's fine. I will upload a separate video showing how to fix this. But in the meantime, let's review lang what we have here. So let's go to material preview. So we can see that our wall has the brick texture, the cylinder and the cube has the bark willow texture, and our floor has the forest ground texture. And we can see that name here in our nodes. So let's say we are satisfied with this, or rather, let's look at our rendered viewport here. So I personally would like one more light source. I want to increase the color of the sun a bit. Let's brighten it up to this type of color. And let's include area light. Kasi I want a little faint source of light lang to cover everything. So let's click on area there. Let's scale it up. So at least medyo malaki yung ma-light up sa area light natin. Yan. And let's put it a bit closer down. Hindi ko. Yan. And then let's increase its power. So 10 watts is not enough. Let's do 250. Why not? This is too bright for me. Kasi the idea I have in mind when it comes to the lighting, parang nighttime tapos may parang spotlight na naka-light up sa cube natin. Let's give a little bit more light here. Let's try 90. Yan, okay, that's faint enough. Kung tanggalin natin, there is a little difference. Kunuhay lang light na nag-bounce on top of our cylinder. Kasi remember, even if this is our desired light source, we have to also keep in mind kung ano yung nasa environment natin. If this were a horror game, then of course I would hide the sun and probably the area light as well. Dapat medyo dark kapag horror games. So, yan, this is where setting the ambience, setting the mood of your scene becomes important when it comes to handling lights. But in this case, let's just keep it this. Again, maybe, you know what, that's yan. Okay, so at least we have more space to move around. When rendering an image, we need to have something or somewhere to look through. In this case, actually, if we go to layout here, let's look at render again. So just because we're looking at the cube in this perspective, let's say we're looking at it this way now. Let's make this taller. Yeah. So just because we're looking at the cube in this perspective, it doesn't mean na kapag i-render natin, ito yung lalabas. We need to create a camera for us to look at our scene through. And in this case, usually when you open up Blender, there is a camera already available. But for the sake of ease sa modeling natin, we deleted it in the beginning. So let's bring it back by clicking Shift-A and opening up a camera. There. So let's drag it up para makita natin. Yan. So wherever this camera is looking at, yan ang ma-render or lalabas sa render natin. In order to know what this camera is looking at, we can click on View, click on Cameras, and then click on Active Camera. Now makita natin, here's a drop-down menu. One of its shortcut is numpad 0. So if ever lalabas tayo dyan, in order to detach from the camera, you can just move around, look around, kumbaga. So okay, ito, let's say I will move the cube here. I will make it a bit longer ba? Kung ano ba yung gusto change mo. Tapos, yan, okay, satisfied na ako. Hala, hindi ko makita yung camera. Let's see, marami na talagang mga bagay. Hindi mo naalala kung saan yung camera kasi kung isipin natin, they're just made out of very thin backlines. What you can do is just click on numpad 0 if you have a numpad in your device. If wala, then of course you can just go to view cameras and active camera. Yan, diretso. Okay, so this is the perspective that we have sa camera natin. But let's say we want to change the perspective kung saan nagtingin yung camera. So we know na ito yung tinignan ng camera natin. We can manually change this. So clicking camera here. We can also adjust depth of field and everything here, but that's up to you to play. That's up to you not to play with the settings. So yan, let's say we think it's a bit too close. Let's put it a bit further away pa. Let's say galing siya dito sa corner, nagtingin. Let's look at it sa orthographic view. Yan, artist. Ay, natanggal ko sa orthographic. Yan. So we want the camera to be looking at this cube here, so we can rotate the camera. So what I do, I'm not sure if makita ang mouse ko. Actually, let's just move to material preview para makita niyo. Okay. So when you rotate, ay, sorry. So yan. You can drag this cursor out and align it to really make sure, or to really see na yan talaga yung tinignan ng camera natin. But if we look at our camera here, let's say, I'm clicking in this direction, it depends on, it's not accurate. Let's say, ganito, align siya, pero yung camera natin medyo nag-face sa cylinder. So whenever you're doing this, try to aim at the rough center ng camera, pero sure tayo na nagtingin siya sa cube. So yeah. Now let's look at it through another perspective. So in this case, it is looking at it, it is looking down at it kasi it's placed in a higher angle. For me, this is fine. In fact, we can even move it a bit higher up. Let's rotate it to make sure that it is looking at our cube. So yan, we can adjust this, the focal length. So kaya na bahala, mag-play around with that. Okay, so we have set up our camera. Let's look at it through the camera view. So para sa akin, okay, like, this is fine. This works for me, but I'm not sure na I really want to show na may siya, may itong gray area natin. So rather than like manual pa tayo mag-edit dito, na ganyan pa, what we can do is, punta muna tayo dito sa view tapos cameras, then active camera, and then click on the letter N. Once you click on the letter N, more settings appear here on the right side, and let's click on view. Here under view, let's check camera to view. So kung saan natin ito i-adjust, yan na ang view ng camera natin. Medyo siya. Like in this case, zoom in na talaga, parang ayaw na. So this is where we have to disconnect from the camera and move it physically closer. So yan, so I want to move it like that. Ay, hala, nawala. So yeah, just be careful about that. Yan. Okay, let's look at our active camera. Okay, let's check that out. Zoom in a little bit. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'm fine with that. No, not really. Let me just adjust this. So this is what it looks like in the material preview. Let's look at it through the render view. So yan, makita natin yung shadow, makita natin yung spotlight. Medyo faint naman yung kulay sa bricks. I want to really highlight the bricks sa likod niya. So I will increase the area light. So this is where playing around with the lighting really helps with setting the scene. Yan. Yeah, that works. Okay. Punta tayo ulit sa camera natin, numpad 0. Click lang yan to be safe. So I guess, yeah, I'm fine with this. Now, let's render it. Now, to render something, just click on render, render image, yan. However, this isn't really optimizing the idea of, or the render capabilities of Maya. I know the perspective here is a bit weird, but we can work with that. When rendering something, you need to use the Cycles engine. This is to fully maximize the lighting and the texture that we placed onto our models and scene in order to unlock, or not really unlock, to access the render engines. Go to this icon here, para siyang nasa likod ng camera. And here, we've discussed the different render engines, and let's work with Cycles. So yan, nag-grain na siya konti. So let me just uncheck that para makita natin kung ano yung ginawa ng Blender. Now what Blender does is, at any shift in perspective, hindi necessary sa camera natin, any changes in perspective renders out everything. Yung light, yung texture, yan. Makita natin dito sa corner, upper left corner, sample 36 out of 1024. These are parang, yan, samples, images na kinuha ng Blender to make our model photorealistic. The more samples you have, the more realistic it is, the more smooth it is, but the longer it will take to render. So try to balance it out. Try to find the number of samples that gives you the best results, but does not take up so much time. Because remember, we still have a deadline to follow. Usually, this is the default, 1024 and 1496. Here, what we see now, this is our viewport. So, yan, mag-default siya ng 1024. We can change that. We can do 500, we can do 250. It's up to you na. I'll just play with 500. It's enough samples to create a photorealistic work, but it's not, parang wala na tayong diminishing returns, so to speak. So yeah, let's just wait for this to finish sampling. Okay, the render is now done. So if you will now look at our render image, so let's click on render, render image. Yan. So I know I'll probably look for a better model to showcase the difference in the light and everything. But this is our output. Now notice here on the top, there is sample 18 out of 4096. This is that amount. So the maximum samples that we take here in the viewport is very different from the ones we use in rendering. It's possible naman na in the viewport, medyo kontihin natin yung samples para maka-work pa rin tayo. Tapos sa render, pwede yung pataasin talaga if you really want something very photorealistic. In this case, I think medyo overkill naman yung 4,000. So I will stop, I will delete, I will close rather the render window. I kind of want the render to be a bit better. Usually, I would do 700 or 750, but I guess for the sake na matapos tayo early dito sa discussion natin, hindi tayo matagalan maghintay, let's set it to 500 as well. So yan, render image. So usually at this time, dyan nyo na manotice na nag-init na yung mga devices ninyo. Prepare an electric fan, pray to God, punta kayo ng aircon room, kayo na bahala on how to mitigate this. As much as possible, maybe lift up your laptops para hindi ma-block yung airway ng fans ninyo. Be careful lang, possible na mapasok yun mo sa hangin sa mga fans sa inyong devices. So yan, let's just wait na matapos ito mag-sample. So yan, tapos na yung pag-render ng image natin. All there's left to do is to save this. Remember, yung mga hingiin ng para sa mga activities natin ay rendered image. So of course, to get this rendered image, click on image here and then save. So dyan, hanap lang kayo ng folder. In my case, I have a folder here. May mga demos na ako na nagawa dito. Let's name it cube. So yeah, let's save as image. So you can also change the color depth, compression, kaya bahala dyan. Just click save on image. So let's say, okay, I do recommend whenever you're trying to change like yung render view ninyo, punta kayo muna sa Eevee, but if sa tingin ninyo makaya ng laptop ninyo yung pagre-render, then go ahead. In this case, I will just select the cube para hindi medyo annoying yung line from our light. Now I want to change the focus to be the cylinder. Actually, well, let me just, yeah. So it's recommended if ever you're adjusting it, move back to Eevee. But if you're really confident in the capabilities of your computer, then sige, stick kayo sa cycles. Okay. So in this case, I do want to change the camera kasi I think I messed something up in its rotation. And that's fine. Okay, let me just move din the cylinder kasi nag-float pala ito. So let's create another camera. Let's go back to our camera. Numpad 0. Ay, hindi ko pala na-lock. Numpad 0, lock camera. Tignan nyo, medyo lock pa rin yung ano natin, camera. Medyo limited yung way na maka-look around siya. So we can unlock that and we can manually adjust this. Let's change our render engine to cycles. Sure, I want to change the spotlight color. I want it to be a bit more yellow and I want it to be a bit brighter. Yeah, let's say. And I want it to be sharper. Actually, let's try na ipo-white natin konti. Yan. Okay, selecting the camera lang. So, yan. Okay. So, ignore everything else. What is in this orange border? Actually, hindi necessary nga orange. Basta ito, red. Red yung color, basta hindi ka nakaselect sa camera. Whatever is in this orange border will be visible. So, if ever you're going to do certain animations or models na may items na intentionally gi-hide ninyo, make sure they are out of bounds. So, yan. Yeah, let's render this. So, tapos na yung render natin dyan. We can then render image. Now, if ever you're wondering na, hala ma'am, di lagi na to ma-save, it's because hindi pa natapos yung sampling. And that is why it's very important to find the balance between the number of samples that you will set. Kasi you don't want to sacrifice the quality of your work, but at the same time, you don't really want to submit your outputs very late. So time management is really important here, time management and smart decision making. So yeah, let's just wait for this to finish. Okay, so now it is done. We can now save our render image. So by default, it's named cube kasi that was the last name that we've saved it as. Let's name it cylinder. Yeah, I think if it does turn red, it means that you have a file that has the same name as it. So you can change that now. But for this case, I don't have any other file with the name cylinder on it. So I'll just save it as cylinder. Yan. So that is all when it comes to rendering your output. Let's just go to Eevee. So there are many ways that you can play around with this. For this case, maybe you can increase the normal of your wall. Let's say, punta tayo sa shading natin. Yan. Okay, let's increase. Let's zoom in a bit. Let's increase the strength. So yan, we could have actually done that. Like, highlight talaga natin yung texture ng brick wall. Same here. So floor, medyo bright siya. So yan. So all of these textures, qualities of your model can be seen once you start rendering it. So that is all for the basics of rendering your outputs. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to message me in Teams and maybe we'll discuss it in class if certain questions or issues are consistently brought up. So with that, thank you everyone and good luck with your assessments. Goodbye.